All right, guys. Hey, it is Friday the 22nd. I just want to give you another update on all things regarding the church vision document, some of the updates I've made. Make sure we kind of get alignment on everything, and then also give you an update on the second part on the meeting. We're 9 days away from that first meeting with the leadership team. So that's going to catch us pretty quick here. So I'll give you a quick update, I think, on what we'll do for the agenda for that meeting and how this content will parlay into that. Okay, no changes here. So first slide, what, why, who, and how, and then scriptures to consider. We'll talk about this later, but I'm going to skip this one for now. So there's really been no changes. The framework document, same. We could talk through this. This will probably be something we can kind of show and talk about in the meeting with the leadership team. No changes to this, obviously, some things that we're considering here. Here's where some of the changes have begun. So let's get into the meat of what we're been working on here. One is, so I think on this page I actually had all of the summarizations of the goals we're trying to accomplish as a church by 2030 already done. I've begun to grade them. Now, caveat here, you're going to see a red dot on everything that's time bound. I don't know if it's necessarily a red dot. I think by its nature, since it is the high level goal that we as an eldership feel like we're trying to accomplish, that the default timeline is by 2030. There's some specifics we need to kind of roll under here, and we'll talk more about how we can get to some of those specifics. But I think this general high-level summarization of the goals we're looking to accomplish that we feel like God is calling us to do as a church, they will all by default go to a time of by 2030. So again, number one, to develop a strong worship and prayer program that cultivates new worship leaders, an active prayer ministry team, and intercession that moves beyond Sunday mornings. I think that's pretty specific. I think that's a pretty good one. Question, I think, a little bit on how to measure that. And, Michael, I'm sure you, Leash, may have some perspective there. Travis, I'm sure you will as well. I think we're already going this direction, right? I think it was good to see the worship night, good to see the prayer team get started, right? So those are great things that parlay, I think, really nicely into this particular objective that we feel like God's calling us to. So I think those are even things we should put down for our measures. I'm just wondering if there's other things that we would want to specifically call out. And again, this doesn't have to be ironed out in the next 9 days by that first leadership meeting, but I think we can kind of demonstrate and say, hey, these are things that we're already doing. We know God's calling us to do this. So this certainly does make sense. And where else do we feel like God is calling us to continue to develop our worship and prayer? Second, the expansion of regularly meeting ministries and programs, whether it's men's ministry, women's ministry, re-engage, regen, etc., all the above, maybe others, each with a designated ministry leader, not an elder. Ideally, we want folks that are called in the body to be leaders and identify leaders to run these programs, and empowered to do the work of the ministry. I think that is our job as elders, and I think is to empower the leaders to go out and make sure that they're doing what God's calling them to do within these programs. I think we could be. I don't know. I actually think this. I'm looking at this again. This is pretty specific. To be honest, I think we got specific programs in mind. I put it as yellow just because I think, if anything, it feels to me, and maybe I'm wrong here, like just a toss of spaghetti against the wall. Well, it's men's or women's or regen or re-engage, maybe something else. But maybe we do need to call out something more specific. I think this also, you don't want to diminish any of the current programs that are currently running, i.e. children's programs, which are fantastic. Hopefully we continue to gain momentum there. There's other things we do there. And then, of course, youth, and that really brings on the idea of Bo and Riley coming on board, maybe helping out there. So making sure that they understand that even though it's an existing program, there's an expansion. Hopefully there's growth. God's calling us to do some things there. I think we could potentially be build in some more specifics there. I think you can measure that pretty easy. I put that as green because, the number of programs, the number of leaders, I think that we put on the chart as we grow, that's going to be something that we can easily kind of point to as areas of measure. Achievable. I think so. Again, I put this as yellow just because I think it's like, is it, it's more like measuring it again. It's like, well, do we have to have all these, or is two or three of these, success? I think that's where we may need to dive into the specifics a little bit more. If we get two or three of these up and running in the next 5 years, then hey, home run team. Um, uh, Realistic, I agree 100%. Yes, it is realistic. It's a realistic goal. I think it's something we should be doing. Time bound, again, we'll come back to that. I think the default's 2030. The next one over here, to expand the Believers Church leadership team as ministry programs and leaders are onboarded, providing opportunities for equipping leaders to be effective in their ministry and at raising new leaders for future ministry leadership. You could be a little bit more specific here. Again, I think we're doing pretty good, to be honest, with just even building the slide that's got all the leaders on it. I think that's great. I think the specifics in my mind is how would we want to provide for growth? I have some ideas. I mean, just tossing ideas out. It's like, well, maybe we send them to leadership and development programs, right? So if someone's going to kick off Regen, I think Watermark's got a region leadership, right? There's a program you can run through that to go do that. Maybe we send some of our other leaders to more missions-oriented programs and things. So again, I think there's things that we need to think about at the empowerment side in my mind, where we could be more specific on that. I think you can measure it. I think it is very achievable. I think it is very realistic. I think we already know there's leaders out there that we've got in the church. We just need to arm them with the tools and pray over them and really, invite God to work through them and what God's calling them to do, and to encourage them to keep pressing forward. So that's the first page. I think those three are pretty good. This is page 2. So I built a few more here, I think, but we'll start with number 1, building biblically and theologically sound programs that enable discipleship and engagement at every stage of life, reiterating the importance of God's perfect design for family. I think this is good. I'm wondering if we need to be more specific here. I don't know. It just feels a little general to me, but we can talk some about that. Not exactly sure how. I think we're actually more specific on the notes that I referenced above, because we talked about some of the counseling, schooling, regen. Those are some very specific things, and I pulled them into the other deep, or the summary, if you will, in the earlier page. So I don't know. I sometimes wonder if we ought to pull in some more specifics on the biblical and theological programs. What do we mean by that? What does that really mean, right? So ensuring that the Bible is the standard by which all of our programs and activities are run. That may be something that we just want to make sure to kind of clearly call out. I think you can measure it. I think it is achievable. I think it is realistic. I think it's something that's out there. I think we know it. I think sometimes we just need to be a little bit more specific with it. Next one, to develop and expand utilization of the Believers Fellowship campus in a way that supports growing church programs and enables community outreach. I think we all agree this is important and awesome. I'm wondering if I have this all read because I just keep questioning myself on whether that's the proper way to actually think through that, or if we need to dive into some specifics around this. Do we really want to call out specifically a phase 2 project that we would want kicked off or completed before 2030, if that's even realistic? Those are thoughts that really kind of are bouncing around my head, or we're just going to kind of I just worry about it kind of being like, yeah, we want to do this. It's like, no, we're going to go do this. This is what we feel like God is calling us to do. So I think we could set the bar potentially more specifically here and measure ourselves. Well, the goal is to build a phase 2 facility that facilitates better homeschooling, youth programs. I don't know. I'm throwing it out there. But if there's wording that you guys think that may be better for that, let me know, because I'm thinking through that one a little bit. That one, again, I think we all agree is very important. I'm just wondering if we need to continue to work on refining what God's calling us to do there. Then finally, to build a vibrant and active missions program that reaches into the community as well as into regional and global mission support. I think it was pretty good. I'm pretty stoked about this one just because, I think we've got Ann and Lisa and Jake coming on board to maybe help us build this out a little bit. I think that is fairly specific. If you can kind of jump into the community, regional, and global, so, that's everything. Now, if that's Jake and Annalisa, I think that's to be determined if they've got all those elements, or maybe that gets broken up into a couple of different pieces. How we're going to measure that, I don't know. We've got some ideas, right? So we've already got like support for global missionaries. Maybe it's something that we're currently doing. That's a good measure. On the regional and local level, we've talked some about that and how to kind of get involved more in the community. I'm wondering if there are specifics we would want to call out there around that. Open those ideas or suggestions again about that. So maybe there's some more measurable elements we'd want to include in that that we could go off and do. I think it is very achievable. I think it is very realistic. No changes on the defined stuff. Again, I'll send you guys the updated Word document as well. Those 6 kind of points that I just went through are the key elements. I think we need to make sure we're feeling good about as we go into the leadership meeting on October the 1st. And if I'm missing one, and Travis, I think we've talked about one, and my old brain can't remember things sometimes. I thought we chatted about adding something else that was pretty good, and I don't have it in there yet. So if there's something you feel like I'm missing, just text or email it out to the group. I think that would be helpful so we can kind of kick it around. Again, we're kind of bumping up against timeline here, so the sooner the better. And then we'll talk some about involvement, because this will be a lot of what we're doing with the leadership meeting coming up. And then execution will begin in 2024. Really no change to this slide. I'm going to skip this one because we're starting to, I'll give you some details on slides I'm putting together for the leadership meeting. Okay, so there's the team, there's everyone. I've got some ideas on this too, but we can talk through this. I'm kind of excited to get this group together. One thing to note is this will be the last Sunday we have before the Sunday meeting the week following. So if you see these folks in the halls or in the byways this week or at church Sunday, I would just say, hey, looking forward to seeing you guys. Audrey's going to help me get a reminder out about the meeting. I think we can RSVP potentially through the Planning Center application. We'll see how that works. If we can get through some of the technical gremlins, see if we can get that rocking and rolling. I have heard back email-wise from several of these team members already saying they're available, they're looking forward to it. So we'll get some more specifics going, hopefully. But if you see them Sunday, just being able to touch base with them, I think it'd be great. So here's the series meeting. So let's walk through the October 1st plan. This will be the meeting that we call on the 1st at 12:30 after church. I think at this point, I would probably need to go ahead and just ask folks to bring their lunch. 2 reasons why I think that's probably the route we need to go for the first meeting. 1, it's coming up on us fast. 2, there's like food allergies and things of that nature we may need to consider before we start catering. And again, we're pressed for time. So maybe round 1 will have to just be a bring your own bag lunch or go grab something real fast and get back by 12:30. I think we need to meet likely in the ministry house, just because with the way our church operates, meeting in the main sanctuary can be challenging when church is wrapping up. It takes a while to wrap up. So we'll probably meet in the ministry house. And so Audrey and I can kind of go get things started there. Hopefully people can start getting things wrapped up there. Again, more details to come. I think if that's okay with you guys, we'll send those out in the notes and a reminder to everyone this week. Here's the agenda I'm proposing. So here's my thought process on what I think we should do. Again, I'd like to keep this meeting pretty tight, but I was talking to Earl and Travis, I think both of you guys, about this past week. This one's probably going to be a little bit more us talking. Hopefully this is the most we talk all fall. I think we ought to open up with prayer and just potentially like a devotional on, God's being good stewards, good leaders potentially. And certainly we want to pray, meet them, just connect with people, number one. But then we'll move into updates on the 2030 vision. So I think we need to talk to everyone about what we're cooking here. And so what we're doing, why we feel like God's calling us this direction, and why we're doing this. So, we're building this Vision 2030 with specific things that we feel like God is calling us to focus on as a body of believers and as an eldership team. And why we're doing this is to help, I think, what we've talked about with this and what's come up with the leadership team. One, to help set the direction for the church so that ministry programs can flourish underneath the guidance and the equipping of the elders. Our goal is to equip, guide, cast vision. And so we want to do that so that ministry leaders can come on board and do what God's calling them to do, and it aligns to where knowing that it aligns to a direction that the church is heading. And so it's really about empowering our leaders. It's being able to say that we're doing this because we want to empower our people to go do what God's calling them to do, knowing that it's under the guise of everything that the elders are feel like God's calling us to do as a larger corporate body. And then we need to share the vision. I think this just comes down to some of the slides that we talked about. We can talk a little bit about the process we've gone through to get to this point, and then just sharing some of that vision of what we would want, what we feel like God's laid on our hearts for a Believers Church by 2030, and then issuing some homework. So as we talk through that, and I think there'll be some questions, we will allot probably about 30 minutes, I think, to the update on the 2030 vision section. We need to then kind of pivot and say, okay, so in the next 3 weeks, we want you to answer some questions here. And so number one is, are you signed up for serving through 2024? Are you ready to sign up for the ministry program that you lead through 2024? So just a 1-year commit. Now, if yes, then Diego team, and I think we need to pause here and just say, the goal of what we're trying to do more than anything is just to check in with our leadership, make sure they're doing well. Things change, life changes, and if you can't commit to that, then that's okay. Let's plan, talk, pray about what that means for the ministry. Are there people that should take over? We need to be looking at other leadership. Anyway, we just need to be able to support our team members and our leaders if they're even looking at a transition into something else, than the following year. And what does your ministry desire to accomplish in the spring of 24? So I do want to keep it tight on, hey, let's think about as we come into the spring semester, which we could put the calendar to it, beginning of January through into school. What would your ministry teams like to see accomplished in that time? Realizing that, I think the thing to reiterate here is you don't need to hit a home run. Okay, we're not looking to knock one out of the park. It's all God's timing, purpose, and will here. But we want to be thoughtful, and what I would recommend is SMART goals. Think of something specific, something you can measure, something that's achievable, realistic, and time-bound for your ministry programs to go in and actually achieve. In fact, I'll put SMART as one of those sub-bullets here. 1, 2, or 3 SMART goals. Don't boil the ocean. Don't have to swing for the fence yet. We're just learning this process, and we're trying to get a cadence of planning here so that we can interlink and support each other, and so also so that the elders can, in that sub-bullet, help you with any resources that maybe you need. So are there people, are there funds, are there facilities you need? What are things that can help incrementally go support your ministries in the spring of 2024? So I think if we can kind of think through that a little bit, get those SMART goals, what that looks like, come armed on the 22nd of October with where you feel like that needs to be. And again, it just reiterating that this is a new process for us. Our goal is to kind of learn to see if this works for us as much as anything, because we don't want to be bureaucratic. We don't want to create something that's burdensome. We simply want to create a process where we as the eldership team can align on resources, our people, our funds, our facilities in a way that supports our ministry programs through the spring. And I think if we can ask the team to do that and pull that thing together, then let's close the meeting. Now, we're a social group. I know we're going to talk some up, and we should, we will. That does not seem to be our problem. But I think if we can just paint this out there, be specific, allow the team to chew on that. And when I say close the meeting, I'll say this too is I still think that section of, by the next meeting, issuing that homework is probably going to take 15, 20 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. I want to allocate time there because I'm anticipating questions. And I think that will be healthy. Well, what do you mean by that? Let's talk through what we mean by that. And so I think this is where we just need to be very sharp about making sure that we give good, specific answers on what we're looking to accomplish here, that we're helping to get our team geared up so that they have clarity on what kind of the ask is, because there's a request here. And then, arming them with what we want to go do, because the next meeting, and I think I'll probably put this as part of this section here too, is as we close this, really, we're teeing up the next meeting. So on the 22nd, this should be a lot more of us or most people just listening in on, hey, here are the 2 or 3 things that the ministries are looking to accomplish in the spring of 24. What does that mean from a people, from a financing, and from a facilities perspective? And is there something there where we can go do and help with? So I think if we can do that and start getting that alignment on the meeting for the 22nd, that would be great. And I think that's about right there. That's about an hour and a half of stuff. And if we can do that about an hour and a half, I think that'd be awesome. And then from there, we just close it up and get rolling and ask the teams to go off, get back with us on that meeting on the 22nd. And then in between that as well, I think there's probably some more specifics that will come out of this meeting that we could use to sharpen the vision document. I think we need to get the vision document pretty sharp by that next meeting, because once we start sharing it with the leadership team, the next goal needs to be going out to the larger community and to the church. And so if by that point, it needs to be locked down. It needs to be locked down. So hopefully that makes sense. There's a few other slides I'm starting to build behind here. You guys can go take a look at them when you get a chance of stuff that I'm starting to tee up for that meeting specifically. If y'all got questions, let me know. If I'm on the wrong course, let me know. But I'll send the updated PowerPoint presentation along with the updated Word document and, of course, a link to this video. So appreciate it. Love you guys. We'll talk soon.